everyone, Angela here. Life can be challenging. Trust me, I get it. However, I have learned we can either view the opposition or value the opportunity. Ponder on the problem or praise the potential. Focus on the situation or find the solution. Despite the current circumstances you're going through, I invite you to join me today as we embark on a grand adventure to discover the reasons why it's a good time to be you.
Here's the encourager herself, making every day a good day, Angela Henderson.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. We are so honored to have you with us today. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's a good time to be you. Yes, and it is. We are so excited to have you with us on our show today. We have with us Chris Weatherhead and Clarence Felder. These two amazing individuals, they have a history with Hollywood. I can remember when I was a little girl, I used to love to stargaze. So many favorite shows that I love to watch and watching the actors and thinking that one day maybe I could possibly be that. Well, we have two people with us who have lived that dream, and they are here today just to kind of share a little bit of their journey with us. They met not actually on a Hollywood screen, but actually in theater, and so they have a plethora of creative arts that they are going to be sharing with us and all the things that they've done. And so please don't go away. We'll be right back, and remember, it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone. So let's welcome to the stage our friends, Chris Weatherhead and Clarence Felder. Chris and Clarence, come on out. Welcome, welcome. We are so glad you guys are here today. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in Hollywood. Please have a seat.
Thank
have
you.
a seat.
Thank you.
Well, we are so excited about you just sharing this amazing journey, just in theatrics, in acting, in Hollywood with us. And I know everybody out here is excited and just can't wait to hear the stories as we go on this adventure with you today. So, Chris, why don't we start with you? You have graced the TV screens in Hollywood, for years. So what was it like living the dream in Hollywood and getting your big break?
Well, actually, I think because of being in New York
Okay.
for 14 years and doing a lot of camera, but a lot of theater. I also did a show off Broadway that was a major hit, and I learned a lot during those years.
Okay.
And then I became a soap opera star. I was doing Edge of Night for ABC for over 2 years.
Wow.
And of course, they only choose the very sweetest people to play the most evil. And I was the evil Alicia Van Dyne.
Oh my God.
And so I had a lot of camera, and I also had a lot of time to think about God during that time. Because in amongst my fan mail, there's somebody who was handling that. I picked up a letter and I said, what are all these numbers doing behind this person's name? And she said, oh, that's one of your many prison fans. And I thought, wait a minute. And that was when God really spoke to me in a really clear way. This is really before we even got to Hollywood. I said, okay, Lord, I did not become an actor to be a role model for criminals.
Wow.
So you've got to fix this somehow. You've got to somehow. And I would say before that, I was giving pieces of my life.
Right.
But after that, I was thinking, I got to turn the whole thing over. And I even considered getting out of the business. By the time we got to LA, I thought either I'm going to find a way to do things that I feel would be honoring to God, or I'm getting out.
That is amazing. You had mentioned the number 14. You had been there for 14 years prior to going out to LA. And the number 14 represents deliverance and release. And so God was positioning you and setting you up for a deliverance and release in your own life to go and be and really do what He's designed you to be and do. So you could be that influence, that even the people in prison or whoever would be watching you or seeing you on screen.
Well, let me tell you what happened next.
Yeah.
The Lord made it clear to me that I was to visit the prisoners. Remember in the Bible where it says, and I went, I was terrified. I thought, what would I do? Teach them acting? I mean, they already know a lot about that stuff.
Yes.
But for the next 8 years, in between acting jobs in Southern California and Hollywood, I went up to and out to various prisons, and I was writing and producing, and that's how God taught me how to be a film director. So
I love it. That is amazing. Well, Clarence, what about you? How about your big break in Hollywood?
Well, I did a lot of theater
Yes.
first off. Oh, but thanks again for having me.
Oh,
Really,
it's an honor.
it feels so good here. You know,
I love it.
really does. I like this the way it feels here. But yeah, what I did was learn a lot about acting for 22 years in New York and all around the country,
Yes.
doing rep theater. But then I had an agent, no longer with us, sadly, but she used to call me every now and then, and in her great Georgia accent say, "Come on out here, honey, let's make some money. Let's really make some good money." So I went out, and I was used to working constantly in theater.
and film.
And then, we did some camera
lot of
stuff.
filming.
But then I got my first job, I think. Well, the best thing I did out there was marry Chris, too. Totally. Best thing I ever did.
Me too.
And then I got a job with a movie of the week produced by Dick Clark called Copacabana.
Copacabana.
Yeah, and the guy that sang it, he was on there, and
Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow.
Barry
he's
Manilow
good.
and Dick Clark came on the set and everything, all of that stuff. And then Annette O'Toole was his girlfriend. So that was the story.
Yes.
And I was this bouncer that had to force her to do dime a dance stuff,
Yes.
And after that, it just, once again, it
just kept rolling.
kept going.
Now,
going.
did you have
Hooperman.
a Hill Street Blues? Was that?
Oh,
one of
yes,
the
I
jobs?
did a Hill Street Blues, and I also did the pilot of L.A. Law.
L.A. Law.
And the reason I got that was they needed somebody big enough who could throw Jimmy Smits out of the police station.
I love it.
And I was able to do that.
Wow.
And Bochco, Stephen Bochco, again, sadly no longer with us, he was very kind to me. And a guy named Greg Hoblet directed me, and then they wrote a part for me in John Ritter's series called Hooperman.
Yes.
So they were all
yes.
cops together.
I love
John
it.
and
That's
Clarence.
how it happened, yeah.
Well, we're
God.
going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to find out how Chris and Clarence met and just what life was like in Hollywood. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey, as a leader, you are a broker of gifts. So whether you are a professional, a business owner, or a ministerial leader, I would love to accompany you in transforming your ordinary staff into an extraordinary team through leadership development, team building, and personal discovery. You will learn the amazing gifts, skills, and talents that each of you have and know how to bring them together in order to do great things. So reach out to me at AngelaDHenderson.com and let's begin your amazing adventure today. And remember, it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. We have with us Chris Weatherhead and Clarence Felden, who are just here sharing amazing stories with us about their life in Hollywood. And so, Clarence, you made mention that one of the best things that you did was marry Chris. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, we had really met, although we were aware of each other. You know, the acting community, professional acting community, is very small, relatively. But we had acted in some companies together. And then eventually we worked together at the New Jersey Shakespeare Festival right outside of New York. And we, in that season, played the Capulets in Romeo and Juliet.
Wow.
And we were married in a Tartuffe by Moliere. And so...
And then he was the head of the Roman army who was saving me in the forest, and I was playing Imogen in Cymbeline. So, I mean, how could I resist?
I love it.
But then I think there was sort of
Your hero.
a minor miracle that happened which changed Chris's attitude about me a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I had been married before, and Clarence had been married before, and we were both on a journey to the Lord and with the Lord, and he was not at all my type. Not at all. Not a bit. But he was such an amazing actor. And he was from the South somewhere, and he kept thanking me for everything. And I thought, I'm from Southern California, and I had lived in London and San Francisco and here and there, and I had never met anybody like this man.
Yeah.
And so finally, I couldn't resist. And I
love
fell
it.
in love with him as an actor. He's the most professional, fabulous actor, and one of the best Shakespearean actors on the planet, actually. And so creating together for the last 25 years here, doing the kinds of creativity that we truly believe in has been the real miracle.
I love it. Living your dream.
Well, the Holy Spirit, I think, shapes us all if we allow it.
Yes, sir.
And if we are wise enough to let him do that. And I'm so grateful the way he has continued to shape our journey, as you were saying. And it, for instance, brought us here today.
I love it.
It's
divine.
all in his plan.
It is. Well, you were making references to your faith and your belief in God and Holy Spirit. So what was something that was really impacting in your life in Hollywood? I think on our break you were sharing about some prayer groups.
Yeah, when we got to Hollywood, because we took us a while to get out of New York, and when we finally got there, we both had agents that had been trying to get us there. So yes, we started working, but by the time in our walk with the Lord that we got there, we knew that we had to try to be a good influence upon anyone who is on our path. And I had been teaching acting in New York for about 10 years at that point. So while I was teaching acting and Clarence was shooting a lot of stuff, I heard about these prayer groups there was one that was writers, directors, and producers. There was another one that Jimmy Caviezel was in. That was the actors one. And that's pretty much what got a lot of people through the toughest parts of Hollywood. There's some fabulous people in Hollywood, but kind of everything you ever heard about Hollywood that's bad, it's much worse. Yeah, and I wish that weren't true, but I think as I would tell the actors that I was working with that were heading to LA, I would say go very deep. And if you're interested in a creative career, acting, writing, producing, please go very deep and get to the real motive of why you want to do this. Because it needs to be the right thing for you to have peace, joy, and be able to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Well, I think that's probably why you guys were so successful in what you did there, because you mentioned you would film one day and then go out and
to the prisons.
To the prisons the next.
Yeah, she would, not me.
But he was terrified. He didn't want to go in.
No.
And yet he didn't want to get in the way of what was kind of like a call on my life. And I learned so much. I thought I was just answering a call. What I was learning, and there's not that many women that are film directors. Yeah. I was learning how to write, produce, and direct.
Amazing.
And I am so grateful because it gave me that courage, which I think we women need to realize that.
I would agree with that.
If you have a dream of that type, you've got to not ever let go of it.
Well said, well said. Well, we're getting ready to take a break, and so when we come back, Chris and Clarence are going to share with us some circumstances that took place in their lives that caused them to take a different direction. So don't go away, we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, Angela here. Just wanting to invite you to share your story with us. We all have times in our lives when it just seemed like it was impossible. But then there was that moment of breakthrough. And just maybe your story was meant to be shared and imparted to be able to encourage and uplift others. Well, we would love to be able to give you that opportunity. So how about send your story into us at itsagoodtimetobeyou@gmail.com for consideration. We would love the opportunity to be able to bring you up on stage so that you can do what what you were designed to do, and that was to be an encouragement to those around you. You know, sometimes you just can't make this stuff up, but when it happens, we want the world to know about it. So again, reach out to us at itsagoodtimetobeyou@gmail.com and send in that story for us to consider. And remember, it's a good time to be you.
Welcome back, everyone. So thank you for taking this journey with us today down memory lane and into Hollywood, and now here on the stage of It's a Good Time to Be You. And so, Chris, why don't you and Clarence share with us what circumstances happened that led you to even come this way down south?
Well, you know, in the Bible it talks about, and I don't know the Bible well enough to say, you know, whither thou goest, I'm going to go. But I always knew that once I had committed to being with Clarence for the rest of my life, which was truly the most important thing, we were in California and things were going fine and all of that. And my family was out there. I grew up on the Balboa Peninsula. We were living in Marina del Rey, and all of a sudden we got a call from South Carolina, and Mama Helen, Clarence's mama, had been diagnosed with lung cancer. So he got on a plane, and I finished up something, and then I got on a plane, and there we were in Colombia at a hospital, and then we could drive around because you could only be there so long. And we started talking, and I'm like, what were we going to do? We had to come and help with the family. She passed on about a year and a half later. But we thought, well, we are not qualified to do anything else but produce theater and film. So we started Actors Theater of South Carolina. And the film division is Moving Images Group. We started that 25 years ago.
I absolutely love that. And it's been 25 years, and the number 25 represents a multiplication of grace.
Oh,
you know, and can you see
Thank
how
you for
This
this
is
information.
amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow.
You
and
got
so,
that right there,
you know,
yeah.
it's neat to look at the numbers. One of the things that the Lord just really enlightens me on is the meaning of numbers in our life.
Right.
One of the things that we share is that He wrote a whole book on numbers, and numbers mean something to
Yeah,
Him, you
it
know,
does,
and He
yeah.
created them, and He's the one that gave them meaning.
Good.
And a lot of times He'll speak to us in numbers, but we just sometimes we don't get it, or we, you know, it goes over, we miss it because we're not really looking for it.
Yeah.
But they tell a story. And so when
good? Yeah.
when we look back over our lives and there are certain numbers that you know, that maybe resonate with us or whatever, it's if we look into that a little bit behind some of the meanings of it, then it kind of helps us to have a clearer understanding. And so you were coming out on a mission of mercy,
Yes,
a mission
we
of
were.
grace. But at the same time, you know, here you guys were out in Hollywood and you were utilizing your gifts and skills and sharpening them and putting them to their best use. You were a part of a prayer group, and God, in His grace and mercy, brought you out of that back into South
Yeah,
Carolina.
It's amazing.
But at the same time, though, utilizing, again, your gifts and skills, because you may have felt at that time, well, all we know how to do is what we did out there.
Yeah.
We feel a little limited. But then you started a company, and He graced you and other people around you, because South Carolina needed something like that. You know, actors, aspiring actors, and people with vision
I
and
wanna
the
tell you,
arts.
there are brilliant actors here.
Oh.
We have found fabulous actors in the
Amazing.
last 25 years, worked with people that I would have put up right next to us in New York or LA or anywhere, and they just happen to be here.
I love it.
And the Lord sent them to us.
That is so beautiful, and that is truly an act of His grace and His mercy, and I think it's, you know, reciprocated from you as well as from them. So you started your theater. It's called Actors Theater of South Carolina. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we it just sort of, I guess, like a little Topsy, it just kind of grew, you know. It just came up.
Like kudzu, or
So how
you know,
did
it
you
just
come up
kept-
with the name,
you know?
even?
Oh,
Well,
we
I had a wonderful time at a theater run by a man named John Jory.
Okay.
Victor Jory's
Yeah,
son.
Victor
Okay.
Jory's son.
And we both worked there.
in
and-
Louisville.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Kentucky.
Actors Theater of
And
Louisville.
I thought that was a wonderful name, and it was aimed at and primarily for actors, certainly in the beginning,
Yeah.
Actors Theater of South Carolina. But then I found out purely by accident that I am descended directly from a wonderful Revolutionary War hero
From South Carolina.
Really?
In Orangeburg,
A Switzer from
a Switzer.
Switzerland.
They called him Captain Henry Felder.
Wow.
I had no idea he existed or
And
that I was related.
And that he didn't believe in slavery, and he was fighting like hell
some
for
wonderful
freedom.
lady
Amazing.
sent me an email because my wife forced me to get on. And I still, it terrifies me. But this email came in, are you related to Captain Henry Felder? And I said, I don't know, but I hope so, on the email. And turns out, yeah.
He started doing research, and we
Yes.
both love history. We love researching.
Yeah.
And once he did enough research, somebody commissioned him to write a play about this guy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
When I was too busy to play the wife at that point. I went to the opening night of the play, and I sat there, and I knew. I told him the next morning on the porch, I said, you're going to hate this, but this is a film. We need to shoot this, and our actors have been dying to do a film. So I said, this is going to cost more and take more time than we want, but we're going to do this.
Oh, my
It
goodness.
was all for liberty, and we won many, many international awards, and it's been in worldwide release through
Yes.
Bridgestone Multimedia for 7 years.
Amazing.
So it's playing around the world. People can find it on Amazon.
Okay, I was getting ready to ask, how can
And
we find
people
it?
from South Carolina, just kind of a special group, can really be proud when they watch that film.
I
You
want to
bet.
see it.
You bet.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, and it's what's the name of the
All for Liberty.
All for Liberty, and we can find it on Amazon.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you
Okay,
can.
all right, good deal. Well, we're going to take another break, and we'll be right back after these messages, so don't go away. Have you ever wondered where I got the phrase, it's a good time to be you? Well, it wasn't because life has always been a bed of roses, but it has been rewarding. Life has many different seasons. Some are more challenging than others. And sometimes we kind of get caught or stuck in an old season when there's a new season that's waiting just ahead. I want to encourage you to untether yourself from the old season so you can move forward in the new things that are waiting for you. So check out my new book on AngelaDHenderson.com and take a journey to discover the many reasons why it's a good time to be you. Everybody, wow, we just had some exciting news. I love movies about, patriotism and the revolution. And so we just found out about this movie that you guys have out there. But, what other wonderful things are you working on now?
Well, we just had another one released.
Okay.
It was delayed because of COVID, but our distributor, Bridgestone Multimedia Group, just released worldwide something called John Lawrence War.
John Lawrence War.
John Lawrence War is about a white kid from Charleston who was fighting slavery 90 years before it ended in America.
Wow.
And his father was a slave owner at the time. And then John was saying from Switzerland, where he was training, he said, Dad, we cannot begin to have a new nation that has a freedom and liberty unless we release all the slaves.
Wow.
It won't work. And if they had listened to John, we might not have needed a civil war.
Yes.
But he was only 27. He had been working with General Washington for 7 years as a top aide and had done all sorts of other things, which people can see in this 1-hour documentary.
Wow.
All for Liberty is longer.
Yes.
But this 1-hour documentary was done through the South Carolina Humanities, a major grant, and we're so grateful for
that
that.
is
Yes,
exciting.
and both Father Henry Lawrence and the son John Lawrence are buried out at Mepkin Abbey,
Yeah.
here where their plantation
yes.
was.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I played Henry Lawrence, one of the most difficult, enigmatic figures I have ever tried to play.
Wow.
Because he was a slaveholder, yes, but he was also president of the Continental Congress
Yes.
and in Philadelphia.
And he was the
led
first American.
the fight for, but see, South Carolina, what you South Carolinians, us, know is that more battles were fought
Yes.
on the soil of South Carolina than any other colony during the Revolution. That's a fact.
Wow.
And there was more blood poured on that land,
Yes.
too. Very serious.
There are a
stuff.
lot of heroes from South Carolina and who fought in South Carolina, like Daniel Morgan, who
Yeah.
Clarence plays in something that we also got a grant from South Carolina. Calls to Greatness, U.S. History,
Wow.
Calls to Greatness, English Literature, and Calls to Greatness, Holy Scriptures. Now, those are 3 that are on a YouTube channel in my name, Chris Weatherhead. And they're all free. You can go
Yay.
and watch them and get some wonderful culture and some great history.
Can't wait to dive in on that. Now, Chris, you also have a book out, is that correct?
I discovered an amazing story about the founding of the Hawaiian Kingdom because Clarence was over in the islands shooting something called Blood and Orchids. It was a miniseries, and I was there happily, and my father was over there on the Big Island, and I stumbled onto this story that I just couldn't stop reading every bit of Hawaiian history from 1790 to 1795, and I wrote the screenplay, and my literary agent and I, well, we decided to walk away from a deal about that screenplay, which is another story. But he said at the time, if you don't write the story about this, no one's ever going to know what really happened, because you know how Hollywood will twist things, and I spent a little bit of time here and there over 30 years, and it just was finally released.
Love
and
it.
that is on Amazon, and it is called Against the Wind: The Rise of Kamehameha the Great.
Wow.
It's great romance, great adventure, great battles, and I think you'd love it.
Well, I cannot wait. These are some amazing things. So, I mean, you guys are just really just whet my appetite here. You know, I can't wait to dive in, and I'm sure our audience can either. So, with that being said, you know, it sounds like that you guys are just following your dreams. You are living the life you love. It's like a life that you don't have to take a vacation from. So, when did you realize it was a good time to be you?
Wow, I think when I found him. No, really,
love
I have to, you know, quickly say that I was a very angry young atheist, and I was one of those people at Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, and I'm glad
you survived.
I'm glad I survived. And then when I got to New York, and I started getting saved, and then I got saved, and then I said, okay, I got divorced, and I had never talked to God about that marriage. So I would say it was a good time to be me when I found Clarence Felder.
And it was good to be me at that point, too.
That is great. Well, you guys, how about at the count of 3, we let our audience and friends know it's a good time to be you, okay? 1, 2, 3. It's a good time to be you.
Hey everyone, to learn more about Clarence Felder and Chris Weatherhead, just go to their website at www.actorstheaterofsc.org. Also, check out Chris's novel, Against the Wind: The Rise of Kamehameha the Great, on Amazon. And you also want to check out Clarence's movies, All for Liberty and John Lauren's War, also on Amazon.com. And remember, it's a good time to be you.